20% run of Ty the Tasmanian Tiger, which is a collectathon platformer released in 2002 and is set in Australia, which you will find out very fast. Coming up here is the first skip of the game called Fence Skip. You essentially just skip this fence. I mean, it's that simple. The reason we do this is so we can get the swim mechanic right away, or swim tech, I should say. And it saves a lot of time in Hub 1, somewhere around 8 seconds.
Yeah, swimming is the fastest mechanic in the game, and you'll see some swimming mechanics here in a bit that are not just underwater, and we'll get to that.
Yeah, as he mentioned, swimming is the fastest way to travel. So we will try to swim as much as possible at all times. Coming up here is Land Shark Skip, found by Dr. Landshark. We essentially use this sea dragon to jump over this part, if I can do it correctly. There you go. Saves around 2 seconds, but it's very consistent. And right after that, we have another skip coming up, back-to-back, called Ship Clip. Traditionally, you want to throw the boomerang through a hole in the ship, but we're just going to hit it through the wall. Easy peasy. Get this Thunder Egg. And yeah, also, not a very hard trick. Coming up here is Nest Swim. Nest Swim is kind of a finicky trick. Sometimes you just won't even get it. We're going to swim up here using a ground swim, which you will see a lot throughout the run. This was an accidental bug on the newest version of the game, put in by the devs. So, shoutouts to the devs for accidentally putting that trick into the game. I think it has to do with the collision with water, but we'll explain that more later. Coming up is Coconuts. Very, very fast-paced aim and mechanical movement here. Shouldn't be too bad, though, since we've done it 1,000 times at least.
Indeed.
And yeah.
So that is Coconuts there. Now, we're going to have a little bit of a divergence from potential routes here. There's actually some little out-of-bounds stuff that you can do here and swapping of Thunder Eggs, but for a marathon, that's a very new route, so we're going to be sticking on what the standard route is for now. This level has really been redefined a lot over the last several months, just with a whole bunch of various ground swims and stuff that have been found all over the place. And ground swimming is one of the biggest reasons why the world record for this game has jumped down so massively, why the time estimates for this game are so much shorter than when it was previously in GDQ. So coming up in a bit, we're also going to have one called Spire Swim. And would you like to talk about that a little bit more, Kama?
Yeah, so coming up is Spire Swim. It's honestly, I could say it's the hardest trick in the game, if not one of the hardest tricks in the game. What we're going to do is we're going to set up a ground swim using one of the sea dragons that we've collected. And what that's going to allow us to do is skip this entire spiral section that normally takes, I think, around like 30 to 40 seconds. But we're shortening it down to only like 10 seconds. And let's see if we get it here. Hopefully we do. It looks like we did. Awesome. Yeah, so we're going to use the seahorse to get a ground swim. Sorry, sea dragon. And then we're going to swim up the spire. We actually are doing this on a controller. The reason we do this on a controller is because we can move freely without the camera, which is something you actually can't do on mouse and keyboard. The camera completely controls you on mouse and keyboard, but with the controller, we can move without it. Now we're just going to clean up the rest of the sea dragons. So let's do that.
And while Kama's just doing that section there, kind of just some general concepts for the game as well. Like throughout this level, you've seen him collecting all sorts of Thunder Eggs by swimming up, talking to L, the Ship Egg, the Nest Egg, all of that stuff. Those are all essentially to allow us to unlock different boss locations so that we can get different boomerangs, which will allow us to progress through the game and then eventually face the final boss there. Also, cool thing to note as well, this game now has a practice mod, a very active community. We've got a whole bunch of glitch hunters, a whole bunch of people working on auto splitters and such like that. So Brandtorn, BuzzChi, Aquamity, those guys, really awesome runners. Awesome to have them in the community. Anyways, talk to us a little bit about how Bytes and everything worked with all of the cutscenes and what was meant to be the first level, the tutorial level.
Yeah, so here, what you're going to see a lot is we bite into cutscenes. The reason we actually do that is because the start of the bite is faster than running. And then at the end of the bite, there's actually a very, very slow stun. But because there's a cutscene, we're skipping that stun. Here is 2-up swim. This just got found a couple weeks ago and saves around 2 seconds. Sorry, it's called Spy Cam Swim, actually. And what's cool is it was found on accident. So, yeah, you always love to see accidental skips. And shoutouts to Matt for actually helping me find a setup for that. So thank you, Matt.
That supportive community, just people coming in, making an actual consistent setup for some of these new finds that come across randomly. And like Lon was saying, with the fresh new things, it's fresh and it's growing. And one thing here is that old trick, as we're talking about being fresh, is jumping on the outhouse, skipping the trigger for the cog cutscene there.
Yeah, that's honestly the first trick I ever learned in this game, and I still love it. It's just a simple cutscene skip. Feels great to do. Oh no, we missed a Bilby. That's fine.
Lawn Mum can even do that trick. It's great.
Yeah. So coming up here, we're going to have platforms. So platforms can be really tricky, especially if you throw your boomerang too early, because you'll miss that button. What's cool about these platforms is that you can actually jump through the bottom of them to save time. You can only do that while they're moving. If they're not moving, you can't go through the platform, and it will lose a lot of time if you run into the bottom. Coming up here, we have another ground swim. I'm totally not going to mess it up. There we go. We're going to take this ground swim to get the second boomerang. The second boomerang's awesome because it opens up a lot more movement. The primary movement this opens up is gliding, which helps us glide across really long distances, and extended gliding, which helps us get a lot more height. That way we can jump over some, gaps and obstacles that normally we can't even get near getting over with only one boomerang. Quick main menu here to get back to the time attack and to finish out the level.
Yep, and funny thing on that main menu as well is we actually play on hardcore mode because when you're on keyboard, it gets rid of the save option, which is your default location on the keyboard menuing. So it actually just puts you on main menu or right next to exit level. So it's just way faster to get your menuing done when you're on hardcore. Also, a quick shout out to Equarmity, an absolute beast who holds all of the time attack world records for the game. There's actually in-game leaderboards where Chrome has given us a place where we can see how everyone is doing on all of the different time attacks, and it's just one of those things that they did really to give the speedrunning community tools to kind of just share what they're doing with each other a bit more. So thank you to Chrome for that.
Right, coming up is Walk. Honestly, one of my favorite splits, and it's really awesome to watch as well, primarily because we're doing ground swims constantly. It's a lot of fast movement, a lot of ground swimming, and it's just fun to pull off when you can pull off a good split. Here is slide one skip. You just watched me mess it up twice. Hopefully we don't mess it up a third time. Let's see if we can get it. Nice. And then we're going to start a ground swim right away so we can skip the waterfall. This is called waterfall skip, hence the name. And then we're going to talk to Ken to start the bat mission, and I will let Lon explain what's going on here.
Yeah, so right now, basically, Kama started the bat mission by talking to Ken. You can't shoot the bats first and then talk to Ken, unfortunately, even though we have the speed for it. But essentially, by getting that log egg just over here, the bats take 15 seconds to walk to the next point, where we then need to shoot them again to get them even closer to Ranger Ken. So by using our ground swims, we're able to move really quickly in between the 2 points that we need to go. Which then allows us to basically do some really good task overlapping. That task overlapping is pretty much like a good 15 seconds of time save. Well, not 15, but it's a good bit of time
Close
save.
Close to it, yeah.
Also, unfortunately, feels Batman. We didn't get a bat swim.
No bat swim. It feels Batman. Yeah, so bat... do you want to explain bat swim?
Yeah, so... essentially, Bat Swim is a part of that Bilby route that we mentioned a little bit earlier in Shipwrecks. Essentially, we're going to be making it so that you get Bilbies on Walk in the Park instead of finishing all of the seahorses or sea dragons on Shipwrecks. And that involves getting that Bat Swim there, where you do a technique called Swim Maintains, which is where you scope out of a Thunder Egg. It only works in a few very specific cases, and bats are one of them. That allows you to swim across the level, grab grab a Bilby, and then you kind of do the level in reverse with a whole bunch of Bilbies. But yeah, that's Bad Swim.
Yeah, now we're going to enter the first boss of the game, the end of Hub 1. This is kind of an auto-scroller, and there's not a lot to explain. But what I could do is I could have Bruh explain to you the mechanics of this boss fight. So, Bruh, do you want to go ahead and do that?
Sure. At first, this level was just playing as normal, just hitting the right routes of the columns. But after a bit, we noticed some animations in between. There is a random animation that sometimes occurs where the bull just feels like yelling for whatever reason he likes. But there's also a scratch animation on the ground where he scratches before charging. Method that we used that I discovered was hiding behind the pillar and then peeking after he begins his motion to then instantly charge Ty rather than doing the scratch animation. It saves a couple of seconds overall.
Yeah, it's a really cool finding, to be honest.
Also, avoiding damage as well saves a little bit of time for some reason.
Yeah, so I don't think we know exactly how the time loss works, but getting hit tends to lose a second.
There's your scratch
which is
animation.
Quite annoying in this run.
Oh, good save.
We barely got the hit. We are so lucky. The run could have just died, but luckily it didn't. Yeah, so we're very, very lucky. You might have time for 1 or 2 donations real quick.
All right. Karma Crimson Mum. Okay, it's not Karma Crimson. I know they're having a donation war, those two. Anyways, why is it $696
with 69 cents? Weird.
Yeah.
Weird. Anyways, that is Bill's Pan there. Coming up, we have something called Mission Impossible. Mission Impossible is basically just a trick that we use to enter into Hub 2 just a little bit quicker. And it's pretty fun to just drop in to where you're meant to go. So, dun 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 dun. I apologize.
So coming up here is Snow Worries. Snow Worries is honestly one of the easier splits now, now that we've implemented so many hard tricks in all of the other levels. One thing that you need to make sure not to do at the start of this split is to not hit the hitboxes, which are hidden inside of these snow piles. Sorry, the hitboxes of the children. That's unlucky. Because if you do, the snow pile won't break and you can't collect the kid. It's super annoying in a speedrun because it can lose upwards of 3 to 4 seconds in really bad scenarios. So luckily we haven't done it here, and I don't think we will because we got past the bad ones. Very nice. So yeah, we're gonna head down here, clean up the rest of these koalas. Also, I don't have my script.
That's fine. If you notice, getting hit by snowballs it's actually very difficult to dodge. They snipe you like crazy, so it's not uncommon to see.
No sniping.
Yeah. What sucks about getting sniped is the devs actually coded in a little bit of prediction, which is why they're so hard to dodge sometimes, because they can predict you, and it's super annoying when they do predict you because it feels terrible because you're just locked into place. And I think it's the longest damage animation in the game, if I'm not mistaken, besides Shadow the Bat.
Yeah, Shadow's a really long one. But yeah, it kind of reminds me of the ballistics technology in Age of Empires. Those guys aim where you're moving. It's insane.
Oh, yeah, true. Predictive.
Anyways, coming up in a little bit is something called Yabby, which is basically like a... Is it a crawdaddy?
It's a crawfish. Crawdaddy.
Crawfish.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have one of those under the water there. We're going to kind of trap that there. And then after that, we're going to be praying for something called Lawn Swim. So with me and all of my undying wisdom, I decided to name the first thing that I ever found after myself. It just so happens that that one thing that I happen to name after myself is also the worst skip in the damn game. So...
The reason this skip is so bad is because it is RNG at the end of the day. We don't know exactly how it works, but we do have like a pseudo setup, and I think it's around somewhere 1 in 20, which doesn't sound too bad at face value, but when you're going for a really optimized run, 1 in 20 makes it a lot harder. Unfortunately, we didn't get it. We can dream. What'll happen is we carry the swim out of the water there, and we can swim all the way up this hill instead of running up it, saving around 8 seconds if done perfectly. So it does save a lot, but unfortunately it's at that 1 in 20 odds, which makes it so lucky to get in a run.
You're gonna see a lot of different mechanics for activating the ground swim, which you're seeing here. Out of the water, on the wall. We had some on ice, but out of Thunder Egg, true. So there's a bunch of different ways that you can activate ground swim, which just shows the variety of how to cause it to happen in the game. Still a lot to find though.
Let's make sure we don't get hit here. Oh no! Oh, yes! Easy. Nice. Not even close. That's actually extremely optimal, luckily.
Also, a quick shout out to one of our 100% runners who actually isn't able to see the colors on his icicles. He somehow got the 1 in 120 odds of getting all 5 of them in a row when he gets them in his first 80% run.
That's crazy. That's because of Mac, right?
Yep. He's running
very old Mac
on emulator stuff.
Which is also a good note to add. A lot of these things that happened were when Steam allowed the Thai HD remake. So most of these fines are moving this game to PC. So we still see bugs like that.
But the game isn't just on PC as well. It's on PC, all of the modern consoles. So Switch, PlayStation, Xbox, all of that stuff, all supports Thai. You can run it on Steam Deck with Linux and everything like that. Works like a dream. Mac is pretty much the only one that's a little bit weird.
Yeah. All right, so coming up here, I have to cut you off, I'm sorry, is Mill Skip. This is probably one of the really, really hard beginner tricks. We're going to jump into that crevice and then just kind of parkour our way up the mill. This is called 360 Mill Skip, and we got it. It's called that because of the 360 jump we do there. And that was actually pretty clean overall, not too bad. It is a lot harder than it looks, though.
I was just gonna say that. You make it look so easy. It's just a jump and a spin, right?
Yeah, just a jump and a spin, that's it.
Using that extended glide we mentioned earlier to get that extra height.
All right, so coming up here is Outback. I will actually let Juan explain what we're doing right here.
Yeah, so basically, when we loaded into the level, we immediately talked to Shazza to start the Emu minigame, which teleports us across like half of the level, and then we talk to Ranger Ken to cancel the Emu mission. That essentially allows us to avoid running across the level that time, which saves us like a good 20-25 seconds. And then also, you'll notice that Karma is just moving a lot quicker than you would kind of expect for like a casual collectathon. Like, this movement, it's like having the speed of a car that you really cannot control, but we get used to it as speedrunners, and what is happening is Karma is actually having his keyboard, his mouse, and a controller right in front of him at the moment, and he's pressing forward on the controller and then doing like A or D inputs on his keyboard and then moving the camera with his mouse. And that allows him to move 41% faster than if he wasn't, because it's adding the movement vectors at 90 degrees, which gives you that 41% movement speed. So anyways, that is Toxic Waste done. That brings them into Emus, which is the most RNG heavy mission of the game. Fortunately, it only has 5 or 10 seconds, but how about you explain some of the nuances, Karma?
Yeah, so there's a lot of nuances. The way that the emus move is random. Sometimes the rope can randomly break. Well, I guess not random. It depends on when you press left click, correct, Lon? Is that right?
Yeah, but then there's also the things of whether the emu decides to fight you in the first place.
Like that,
But you can also avoid that by just being over top of the emu. So there's a lot of like RNG that you can reduce, in a sense. There's a lot of skill to this. I call it the highest skill density and highest luck section of the game combined into one. It's ridiculous.
I just say emus make me emotional. That's every time I get to this part.
So this is Bruh's favorite mission.
No.
Isn't that right, Bruh?
No, the sarcasm. It's not bad. It's fast, but it's just tedious. You just pretty much just push Shaza on the back of her vehicle, which doesn't have any axles. I just realized that. She's got floating wheels. Well, she just drives, and the bar on the bottom is her health. She could take damage from these exploding motorcyclist frills, which if we just push past, we just ignore them and leave them in our dust.
Yeah. Now would be a good time for donations. Is that actually correct, by the way?
Yes.
Script-wise?
Yeah.
I'm trying to memorize the script because I don't have a script. So.
Bruh, that's perfect. So we're filling time.
So yeah, now would be a good time for donations. Joe Mama donated $50 saying, Joe Mama got him.
God,
Uh,
competing with Comma Mama.
yeah, we have time for one more donation.
Bruh Mama.
Oh, dang it, you stole that one from me. I was going to read that one out. Go for it.
Bruh Mama says, bruh.
Bruh.
And we assume they're over just in case they're over early so we can add extra content.
So yeah, for this entire mission, Karma has been pushing Chazza, using his outback movement that allows him to add a huge amount of speed over top what Chazza usually does. So this mission alone actually saves like 30 to 40 seconds just by using that extra controller input to add in speed there. It's pretty wild.
You don't need 3 arms to do it as well. You just, there's a strat.
Yeah, you only need 2 arms.
Yeah.
But
So
I'm
here,
sure that you can
quick
learn
out of
mine.
bounds. We're doing a quick out of bounds there just to save a little bit of time. And then this is a brand new skip called Bridge Swim, found by Matt, who he mentioned earlier. He's a new runner who actually found the setup for this trick. This trick saves around 12 to 14 seconds, if I'm not mistaken. Somewhere in that ballpark. I think closer to 12 than 14. I'm having a really hard time getting it, unfortunately, but that's okay. Primarily because I'm messing up the setup. Completely human error. We got it, though, so we're going to head up to these bilbies. Normally, we have to walk this entire section. Luckily, we don't. So let's try and get these 2 bilbies.
Strats like this are replacing some of the little finds like a ledge grab that I found. So I guess my tricks that I named after myself were too easy, unlike Lon's, which were too difficult, and then mine got routed out.
We didn't name it after you. We just said thank you, Bri, every time. So it got named.
You're just gonna route all my stuff, but it's fine because the game's growing, and that's the fun of it, and that's what I love about this game. So, really,
Yeah.
But
All right,
also
so
one of
here,
the-
so here I'll let Lon kind of explain what we're doing with the camera and kind of the mission itself.
Yeah, so essentially this mission is a little bit weird. We have all of these enemies kind of like floating around all of these torch barrels that we need to light to escort Dennis back to his house because he's scared of the dark. Frogs are scared of the dark, definitely not nocturnal animals or anything like that. I'm actually not sure on green tree frogs. But anyways, by having the camera at some like really extreme angles with the enemies almost off screen, you're able to force the game to target the torches instead of the enemies, because enemies usually take first priority in targeting. But also one of the other cool things, just referring back to Bridge Swim real quick, is that Bridge is one of those levels that doesn't have any of those tides. So if you remember in the first level for Landshark Skip, which is when we jump off that seahorse, the tide in the level, it goes up and down like every 6 seconds. Different levels have different speeds of tides and such. But Bridge doesn't actually have a tide. So Bridge Swim is theoretically 100% possible, which is quite nice, considering how precise of a setup it is. If you had to contend with tide as well, that would make it so much harder.
Oh man, that would be terrible. Yeah, so like you mentioned, Bridge Swim is 100% consistent. It's just really precise at the moment, and specifically is hard because it's brand new. Like I said, it was found last week, so very, very new. What we're going to do now is Dennis is still running to his house. And once he gets to his house, we're going to get a Thunder Egg. And while he's doing that, we're going to hurry and finish this boss fight so we can barely get both Thunder Eggs at the same time, which is really nice because getting them at the same time actually cancels the animation of you getting one of those Thunder Eggs. So yeah.
Isn't this his brother?
Yeah.
I think they are.
Canonically, I think that might be the case. But also another interesting thing with that double Thunder Egg that Karma just got there is the barrels for lighting Dennis's way home. They only actually update when you're somewhat close to them. So they expired ages ago. However, then the draw distance in the game, because of the PC port, it actually allows Dennis to continue running further away than when those torches are loaded. But then when Karma goes into the arena to fight Nede, he actually goes outside of that range and is able to buffer it to then overlap the Nede boss fight.
Ooh, double
Also,
turkeys.
just there, Karma got the double turkeys. Turkeys are also known as the casual player's nightmare. Basically,
True.
just right in front of them and you'll be fine.
It's way more difficult than that, buddy.
Yeah, you need to get those ones both within 5 seconds. That's pretty tough.
Yeah. Would right now be a good time for a donation? You guys think?
I think right now would be a great time to talk about Sharknado and Jaws had a horror baby with the Terminator. No.
Or after the
That's great time
donations,
for
yeah.
donations.
After donations, and yeah, either or. That's fine. Yeah.
Yo, we got another $69 from Bro Mama.
Bro, mama.
Oh man.
Bro,
I think
mom.
if this does take the entire level, but we have a little bit left, I think the only thing really worth mentioning is the early. Maybe start gate skip early, or just mention how you can hit those early because,
Yeah.
you know.
Oh yeah, I should
Okay.
definitely mention how you can hit those early.
I would say that's the only one if we do have only time for one mention if donations go through this entire level.
So now that Crikey has ended, we're going to get the Frosty Rings, which are the last requirement to beat the game. We're going to head to the final boss now, so let's do that. Coming up is Gate Skip. This is the biggest skip in the game, saving somewhere around 15 whole minutes. And that's because you're skipping 3 levels and an entire hub. You're skipping an entire hub of the game. So we're going to swim up this tree and then jump while in midair. That's basically caused to us being in a paddling state. And then we jump over that gate while in the paddle and enter Cast Pass. Here in Cast Pass, a very, very short split. We're going to do a little bit of a corner cut here to save a little bit of time. And then we're going to do Tree Skip. Tree Skip saves, I think, around 10 seconds over the old skip. We're going to jump off this tree, go out of bounds, and then swim all the way to the end.
That's crazy.
Yeah. It saves about
much
40
does it save?
seconds.
It saves about 40 seconds.
You skipped the whole level. Yeah.
Yeah,
I might be a little wrong. 40 seconds, a little bit of time save.
However, what definitely saved more than 40 seconds was that gate skip there. That was a trick that was found by Coral Killer, who is currently 3rd place on the leaderboard. Has been one of the most active runners over the last few years and has contributed a lot to the game there with that discovery.
Hey, look, it looks like Lawn Swim. This is the reference to Lawn Swim we were saying earlier, where there's another swim by accessing from underwater, but it looks like the difficulties with it are going to result in the backup strap bomb jump, which was found by Kama himself, so seeing it in full fashion.
Yo,
I thought it was Lawn, Lamau.
Was it? Okay, I'll throw you in. Sorry. I just remember him saying it.
There's not even bother saying names on it, to be honest. It's such a small skip. And it's routed out.
True, I was just trying to feel a little bit because I was recovering from...
Also, Karma just going for the random swag strats. Can we talk about this?
Yeah, that was
He's
actually
literally on an
cool.
auto scroller. He is literally on an auto scroller right now and doesn't need to save any time. He's just trying to meme. Anyways, speaking of trying to meme, we have another donation from Karma Crimson Mum saying,
Yo.
"Swag basket, let's go."
Hey.
I think that one's a little bit old, but hey, you know, old donation. And then we have another one from Bro Mama saying, "No." I have no idea what the context is here, but Brian, I hope you're fine.
So
I'm
if
safe.
we run out of donations, what I could probably what is something we could explain? Because that might be an issue since it's like the final.
Explain the shadow auto scroller stuff or whatever, like how to manage the damage and stuff like that, making sure that you're not too close.
Timing, how it's all about waiting for it to come back. Or just even the level intensity. We could just go into the game, what the game, you know, I mean, Chrome
Dude,
gave us
I could totally
content,
talk
right?
about the mood because the nerves, I have like trauma. Yeah, so if you guys listen to this music, it's very intense, which makes a really good paced run just that much more harder because I feel like this music personally affects nerves a lot. So yeah, we just finished the mission and we're going to enter the final boss. So the first thing we're going to do here is freeze these cannons and bite them to break them. Unfortunately, there's no way to skip doing this. We have to do this to beat the game. So we're going to hurry up, clean up these cannons. If we bite too close to them, we can actually kill the game by getting proxied off the map. But we're not going to do that because we're not bad. We are then going to hop over to wires, go down to wires, and break these wires with the flamer rings while trying not to target these enemies, which is a lot harder than it sounds, especially since Ty tries to prioritize them. We actually hit one of the enemies, but that's okay. Doesn't lose too much. We're now doing Doom Clip, which is honestly one of the coolest skips in my opinion. You're going to essentially skip the entire pipe ending of the game. Very similar to Bikini Bottom. However, this game did come first. Just saying.
A year.
Yeah, did come out a year earlier. Just saying. Very similar mission.
Yeah.
Isn't that odd?
So instead of going in the pipes, you're just going around them and then in through a little clip at the very last second to
And then,
activate
boom,
the trigger.
we barely hit the ending
It's time.
trigger
That's time.
line
Time.
and time.
Kama
I need
Mama
to
says
make
world
sure to say and
record.
time. Let's go! What was that? That was a 28?
She said
28
WR, which stands for wiener. I mean, world record. You're a wiener. Yeah. Woo!
A fun thing that we could do probably is reference the sub 30 race and how we got everyone together when the skip was found. The largest time save found, well, the largest time save
Yeah.
besides Gates
Dude, that
found in
was
7
such-
years
that was such
was
an
done on a
accomplishment.
race for
That-
sub
Yeah.
30.
Yeah,
That would be a
was-
fun one.
Special thanks to the game devs. Thank you, Chrome, for updating this game. Or the speedrun wouldn't be the same. We wouldn't have ground swimming. And the speedrun would probably go from what it is now, at 28:30, all the way up to like probably 47 minutes, around that ballpark. So thank you, Chrome. Thank you for the
Much
remaster.
love.
Shout outs to the game modders for helping, the game modders for always helping out the community, the moderators of the Discord, glitch hunters, and routers especially for making the run what it is today. And in general, just the supportive community. I've been in very, very many gaming communities, and I think this is one of the best communities, if not the best community I've ever been in. So thank you,
For
Thai
sure.
community, for being who you are. And yeah, thanks for watching me play the game fast, guys.
I think Lon and I could do a little tag at the end of that. Like, thank you, and then like appreciate it, just to vocalize we're done and just all have a. That'd be kind of nice.
I think it would make sense if Brian and I do the talking like after the game finishes, and then Karma
Okay.
does that final wrap up or whatever, and then I would say you want to end it on like we look forward to seeing you on the leaderboard, that kind of thing.
True.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
ultimately we are here to get people interested in the game and
Yes.
raise money for charity as well.
Which happens by getting more runners, which then the game comes back to GDQ.
Exactly.
See, it's
Okay, so question. Do you guys